for Single Point Lyra Weeks 5 and 6. We're starting off with straddle under the bar as our mount for this. I would start with pronated grip, hands close together, thumb to thumb. The goal here is to pull the bar down into the hips, much like we would if we were pulling up to invert, with like the idea of a pullover. In this case, the objective for me is keeping the arms close to my body and bring the bar down to my hips. The inversion practice is knees high and wide, think like knees into armpits, so that we can clear the bar, staying small, and then straighten and find our balance under the bar with our hips. We can use our feet to help. It's best, I find, to try and make sure that we're getting both feet so that we're not pushing the bar away with one foot and making it really hard to hang on. So up, feet, hips, or up here to keep our hips from sinking in low. We want to pull the chest through the arms and really think about squeezing our shoulder blades together, keeping our feet heavy and in front of us. From here though, we have a couple things we can work on, just doing a simple knee bend here in practicing hanging by knees. Hanging by knees, we want to try and make sure that we're always keeping our feet below the bar, squeezing the heels into the butt, and then also trying not to sit into the bar to work on trying to hold our knee grip, but rather pushing our hips forward and squeezing our butt to make a nice straight line from knees down to shoulders. From here we can work on like the basic crunch and climb, where we crunch into our chest, slide the hands up one at a time or two at a time until our hands are about halfway, and then we can think about lifting the hips and straightening the legs to adjust the bar under our butt for seated. From our hanging under the bar here, we also, in our straddle under the bar rather, we can work on these angel switches. So for those of us who are doing pretty good hang under the bar in our straddle, we're thinking about hooking a single leg, extending the other leg back, and releasing the hand of the bent leg for our angel position. Then if I bring the leg back to straddle, grab the bar, switch, I can bring myself into the same shape on the other side and work on switching them quickly or slowly. And then when I'm ready, finding my knees on the bottom bar, I can crunch and climb, or the more advanced option to play with is finding a knee beat swing. So here, really squeezing the heels to butt, we're thinking about crunching up and dropping into the swing. We're not trying to do a big crunch. We're really forcing it forward or backward. I'm trying to nudge my momentum forward and backward to build enough swing to crunch quickly in the front and reach high and wide to find that halfway position so that I can lift my hips and straighten my legs into my seated position. And using the same kind of leverage that we do just to get to seated that way with both legs over the bar, we can work on this apple roll. And the apple roll is a really fun descent into hang by knees to come down just as much as it's a cool skill that can go around the bar. The easy thing to do would be to first just practice going to the underbar position and hooking the knees. So I'll start with my hands lower than halfway, but not at my hips. So I like to think about starting out wide, and then sitting my hips back so that the bar's centered on my thighs. Then what I want to think about doing is folding chest into thighs as I lean into my grip and find my straight arms, and then let myself tuck and roll under the bar. If I don't do anything other than rolling forward slowly, the bar will slide and I can naturally hook my knees very easily, and it's nice and slow. It's not a super fast skill, but spotting the shoulders from the front and guiding everyone back down under the bar is an easy thing everyone can find. It's just the scary thing of falling forward. The way of coming all the way around is thinking about how we engage the bar with lifted hips, thighs against the bar, and really pulling into the bar with our arms to create the tension we need to go all the way around. So if I do the same hand setup and the same fold, what I'm going to think about doing as I come down under the bar is instead of letting the bar slide, I'm gonna push my thighs into the bar and pull with my arms to keep extra pressure. So then I can lift my hips and pull with my arms and find myself following the momentum of my roll forward all the way around from seat all the way back to seat. Then from here we can go into hip hang. So for hip hang, what we're thinking about doing is lifting one leg, which will be the leg that or the hip that we catch on, and then leaving the other leg straight down to the ground. I'm gonna take my hands over to my bent leg side, and I'm gonna think about doing a roll towards the bent leg, where I'm bringing the bar into my chest and trying to stay close to the bar. My straight leg is gonna trace all the way up and around to the top bar, somewhere here near the span. I could potentially hook the span or just kick into the top bar. So hands to the side I'm bent on, I'm pulling it into my chest, rolling on to the side of the thigh and then catching my hip crease. And I keep rolling, tracing the bar until I'm vertical, holding my knee into my chest and kicking into the top bar will keep me facing the bar. I could turn my hips out a little bit so I'm facing more sideways, and I can actually hook the top bar if that's accessible to me. Not everyone's legs will be long enough for that. I can also push into the top bar with the foot. It doesn't have to necessarily stay with it at the ankle or on the leg itself. If I just fold my straight leg down to catch the bar in my forward fold, I can reach to one side, roll over, and find my way back to seated as an easy exit that can take me back to seated or allow me to roll out. I can also go for the more challenging option of catching a femoral fold and doing more with the femoral fold too. So if I go back to my hip hang, from my hip hang, this will be my hip hang leg if I just straighten my leg. I can think about having my hands wide outside my hips, and then I'll take my straight leg through the bar and wide, so I'm straddling the bar on the right side with my arm between my legs. Then I can release if I want to hold on that way, or I can just transfer my hands out to the side. I'm gonna think about hitting my legs together and bending my feet through the bar and turn it up to the ceiling, which will give me an angel roll to exit. And I can climb up from this angel roll, high and across, thinking like half crescent, or full crescent to return to seated. From here, next in our syllabus to work for, we have our cross-leg seated balance. So this can be a really cool thing to try and find from any single leg support position, but from seated, the basic way of getting to it would be to start with our hands above our shoulders, drop our hips down and back to catch our knees, and then I'm gonna pick a leg. I'm gonna think about crossing it over the other and behind the bar, then lifting my butt into the bar. Once here, the seated balance is me finding sort of the hot dog in a bun when it comes to my butt, and then squeezing my legs into the bar for extra support, and then slowly thinking about finding balance by keeping my core engaged. I could potentially find my head against the bar too for added help. I don't ever have to make this hands-free. It can just be a pretty place to pose. But it's also a nice way for us to make our way into man on the moon. Because for man on the moon, all I'll need to do is lean back, find the bar against my back, and then think about lifting my toes into the sidebar across from me, so I can push into my toes and find the resistance of my back against the bar. From here, in that man on the moon, we can always just exit by dropping the legs down to one side, or we can pursue going up higher. So if I have myself in man on the moon with my right foot high, I'll have my right hand high to go to upside down man on the moon, and I'm gonna think about doing a flamenco grip where I'm turning my thumb away towards the span, my palm here, and I'm grabbing nice and high. With my bottom hand, I'm doing a selfie grip or an Olay style grip, but what I'm trying to do first is just place my hand here next to my butt, and I'm gonna keep turning so I can grab it later. This will help me get my arm through so I can place my shoulder later. What I'm gonna do is push through my feet, through my toes, across from my chest, so I can pivot through my feet, and then pivot through my back here where the bar is centered between my shoulder blades. So I'll push and pivot, as I push and pivot, the bottom bar hand gets to grip. I get to bring my arm through and find my bottom shoulder, and then push with my feet to get my hips into the bar above me, with my hands still holding the bar. I never have to let go, but if I push enough through my toes and keep my button back against the bar, this is safe to release on hands. And then an easy exit for this is to take your top leg first, hook the same side span, so my right leg lifted, I hook the right side, my left leg lifts, I hook the left side. Then I can come down from there. Or we have other ways of playing with that shape once we're in the upside down position, like single arm shoulder stand and shapes that it comes with. So for single arm shoulder stand, I'm going to keep a strong push through my bottom arm and keep the bar more on like the back of my muscle on the shoulder, not forward onto my actual collarbone. And then from here, I'm going to take my top leg and find the span so I can trace up and try to find a nice, strong, straight line to kick into. And then here, like I can play with my front leg. It can be bent, it can be bracing into the bar, pushing into the bar, or I can take them both up. I can also drop them back in scorpion over my top hand with my legs straddling the bar. And then when I'm ready, hooking the bar just like before in the easy bend knees over top bar exit. Now, a fun exit out of this, aside from just practicing trying to do a long hang or tuck into a ball to try and get back to your seat, we can do this more challenging straddle down from the span. This is challenging mostly because this is a vertical grip, and we would want to be mindful that people need to have confidence in their vertical grip. So I'm going to crunch up, think about getting my chest to my knees, and then hanging into my grip, I'll unhook my legs and straddle them down. And because I'm hanging into the span here, I should be able to lift my knees and find my toes so that I can get to a squat, or I can get back to my seat. From there, we have our standing stuff. And you can use that straddle as a way to squat and stand, or just from here, work on your good standing practices, getting the apparatus underneath you and climbing up with the span set. Our top bar skill today for these weeks is to work on a single leg bar lift. So the single leg crochet is taking one of my legs, in this case I'll take my left, I'll take it over the left side bar and hook my ankle, thinking of straightening my leg as I fold my upper body over the right side. When I straighten the bar, it starts to lift it, and then I can pull it up with my arm, and I can even assist holding it with a bend in the leg. Lowering it back down to kick into the ankle, and then find my way back to my standing position. I can also lift it higher if I have the lift all the way to the span. Then I can find my single leg pendant, and I can play with shapes. And then it's the same lower down to find your standing. Our exit is to continue our practice of straddling out. And for this, I would say walk it down with hands halfway so that we can keep our knees wide and grab the bar, or we can practice doing the top bar, drop into it, catching our knees, taking our legs wide at the bottom. Ta-da!